If I were to tell you that there was this cool horror game that's about some nostalgic animatronics with a dark secret, what game comes to mind? Yes, there may be some surface level similarities between Tattletail and Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF if you're one of the cool kids, but there's actually a world of differences between the two. A really, really weird and spooky world of differences. Hi, I'm Jacob with The Leaderboard, and we're gonna be putting Five Nights at Freddy's and Tattletail under the microscope, so make sure you're stocked up on batteries, bear masks, and grooming brushes as we head into the dark and mysterious worlds these games have to offer. This is Tattletail versus Five Nights at Freddy's. The creators. Tattletail is a game by Waygetter Electronics, their name riffing on similar sounding toy company names from the era that Tattletail takes place, the late 90s. One Waygetter staff member and co-creator of Tattletail, Ben Esposito, is also a member of the game developer collective Arcane Kids, who have put out several bizarre and cult favorite games like Sonic Dreams Collection, as well as Bubsy 3D, Bubsy Visits the James Turrell Retrospective. These games' experimental and otherworldly oddball flavors definitely play a factor in the Tattletail formula. Geneva Hodgson, the other co-creator of Tattletail, has always been a fan of the toy horror subgenre since childhood. The Child's Play film series and Night of the Living Dummy from the Goosebumps books were both big inspirations in the creation of Tattletail. Geneva is also currently a storyboard writer and artist for the animated series OKKO Let's Be Heroes. This storyboarding sensibility contributes to Tattletail having some well-executed visual timing, like lights cutting out at the best or worst moment, depending on if you like being scared or not, or turning a corner and seeing that your Tattletail has set up a totally fun party scene for you that's in no way something far more sinister. In contrast, Five Nights at Freddy's came about almost by mistake and, of course, by a completely different developer. It was created by Scott Cawthon, an indie game developer who, before creating Five Nights, was at a low point in his career. One game in particular, Chipper & Sons Lumber Company, was harshly criticized for having characters who are supposed to be cute but came off as robotic and creepy. All the negative feedback caused Scott to almost give up on game development, but then he realized he could turn his negative into a positive by making a game that was robotic and creepy on purpose, and so, an empire was born. The story. Yes, it's true that both games may deliver you equal doses of 80s and 90s nostalgia and animatronic-fueled terror, but beyond that extremely boiled-down descriptions, these games go in two very different directions, including the fact that you play as a kid in one and an adult in the other. Well, for most of the series at least. Tattletail tells the story of a kid who decided to be sneaky and find out, anyone who believes in Santa, please cover your ears for the next few seconds. We good? Alright, to find out where their parents hid their Christmas presents. Unfortunately, their new totally not Furby toy has a lot of needs, like grooming and food that, when neglected, causes a ruckus. Meaning you have to take care of the little pest until Christmas Day so your parents don't find out about that sneaky sneak thing you did. And unfortunately, an accessory for your toy, the ominous Mama, has a slight defect that causes it to be a little more than aggressive when it finds you sneaking around the house late at night when you should be in bed. It is a school night after all, and you got that big social studies test tomorrow that you probably haven't studied for because you've been busy taking care of this stupid Tattletail that won't shut up. Five Nights at Freddy's, on the other hand, is about the poor schmuck given the thankless and barely even compensated position of night security watch at the local, totally not Chuck E. Cheese pizza and entertainment restaurant. And while in Tattletail you're trying to cover up your secret, in Five Nights at Freddy's, your employees are trying to cover up their secret from you. What they neglected to mention during orientation day was that the animatronics are actually sentient robots who tend to wander around the halls at night, and also they like to kill people. A lot. And I mean like, a lot. From there, the story spirals into a web of missing children, serial killers, possessed animatronics, and the people orchestrating it all. If you want the whole story, it's gonna take you a while, as it's spread across multiple games, a book, and soon, somewhere down the line, even a major motion picture. The Story Part 2, The Lore. Tattletail is a very self-contained experience, especially compared to Five Nights. Everything you need to get the full picture is in the game for the most part. Very little internet combing required. Even the game's release trailer consists of a fake Tattletail commercial that you're eventually given in-game in the form of a VHS tape that mysteriously appears, because of course it mysteriously appears. To be fair though, there is some additional footage that you gain access to on the tape that clearly reveals the true nature of the game's titular toys. By now, it's well known how deep the canon of Five Nights at Freddy's can go if you're willing to dive into the deep end. There are countless fan theories, timeline flowcharts, and even the creator himself leaving bizarre clues and hints through Easter eggs in his website's code. It could take weeks or even months to comb through it all. People are still speculating on who the real killer is. It could be the seemingly innocent Fazbear Entertainment. There hasn't been a bigger mystery since the world wondered in unison who killed Laura Palmer.